right, here, and it's good to see you all over here. Sitecore obviously is changing, and we all have to change. It's a learning curve for all of us. What we were doing from last 10 years is, yes, a little bit changing, and we all are kind of change or in a process of changing. So we are here just to help to see our journey from an MVC to headless, even with XM Cloud or without XM Cloud. That's what we will try to kind of help you. From an introduction, like myself, Vikas Kumar, I work as a senior director practice head, leading practice for Aspire Info Labs, where we work with the multiple DXP solutions, including Sitecore.
Hello, everyone. Hope you had a great lunch and the great sessions over there in the plenary room and the breakout session one. So, yeah, myself, Raman Gupta, Sitecore Technology Architect at Aspire, based in India. I've been working with Sitecore and related Microsoft technologies from past 10 years and have been Sitecore Technology MVP from past couple of years. I've been got chance to speak at various Sitecore user groups in India, outside India, and on one of the most prestigious platform of Sitecore, which is Virtual Developer Day. So yeah, I've been speaking there for past couple of times. So yeah, thank you.
Great. Okay, so if we are here, obviously we have some agenda as well, right, to talk you about as well. We'll start with the understanding overall landscape, like why headless. Obviously, headless starts because of all the composability that we are talking about. So we'll talk a little bit about the composability, understanding headless architecture as a key concept of the headless Sitecore point of view, Sitecore composable strategy. Then we'll come back to our main topic, where we'll talk about like how we have migrated an MVC solution towards the headless solution. What are kind of learnings, transition strategy, some of the challenges that we have faced, and some of the best practices that would like to kind of share our experience with one of the live example here. Okay, so to understand the landscape, I think we are moving towards the composability. That was the first thing that's you see from the Peter's keynote as well, from the composability. And composability is not like in our world. Composability is everywhere. So do anybody can maybe tell, yesterday everybody heard about, yes, we launched Chandrayaan 3 on moon, right? What was the composable element into it? Any guess? Lander and rover. Yes, maybe. One great example of the composability, if you see from Chandrayaan 3, is orbiter. If you see the orbiter, this time, what's the difference between Chandrayaan 2 and Chandrayaan 3? They didn't send the orbiter this time. The last time, if it was like a package, it might have to, we have to send it again. The complete packages. This time, the ISRO didn't send the over there, the orbiter. They used the orbiter that was working fine from the Chandrayaan 2. That's the composability, because how the message comes to us from the lander or the rover to India, that's through the orbiter. So that's an A layer in between us that gives the message. The lander gives the message to the orbiter sends it to the Earth. So that's how this is composability, like that's a composable solution. So we not package everything into one solution. We figured out, okay, this is search, this is separate package, this is personalized, this is separate package, this is CMS. Let's each product or each function do its own job. So that's where we are here to talk about like from the composability perspective. Few years back, most of you might have seen this image, right? Already, Gartner published this image. They mentioned monolithic DXP is no longer working, right? Because of a lot of challenges, right? Every time upgrade was the biggest challenge, like in the monolithic DXP, right? So they kind of they mentioned if you have to go further, you have to decompose your DXP. You have to have different solutions for different tasks, right? So Peter has given the example of the Swiss knife. That doesn't work well, right? In every situation, you want the best of breed tools and technologies. So that's where the headless comes from. This, because if you have to be composable, you have to integrate. To integrate, you need an API, you need like all those things. So that's how the headless concepts comes from the from composability to the headless. Yeah.
Thanks,
So
Vikas.
let's understand a little bit about the headless architecture.
So I'll start my content with a fun fact that how many of you know that Sitecore was generated and they come out as a headless CMS only. They were following the headless practice even way before the headless was a term. We all must have used Sitecore 7, 6 or Sitecore 8, 9, 10. In all of them, Sitecore content layer is always decoupled from their presentation layer. We all must have used Sitecore content API, and RESTful APIs are also now there in the market from I think Sitecore 9 onward. So they always have been following this practice from quite a while now. But now what has been changed is they have changed the architecture and they have changed the approach. So if you will see the overall CMS, you will not notice much changes, but what changes you will notice there is the change in the architecture and change the development style. So what I am trying to say here is that headless itself is not new. What new is there is a headless is just new buzzword. That's it. So it is just a new buzzword that is created in the market, but we all have been following this practice from a way long. If you all are the Sitecore developers, you all are following the headless practice from a way long. Now, uh, when I'm saying that, because my here I'm explaining the headless architecture. So what architecture they have changed from before JSS and after JSS? What has been changed now? And that's where I'll explain the traditional MVC and headless architecture. So because most of the CMS, including Sitecore, they are built on let's say ASP.NET MVC, and they have not decoupled their CM and CD layer earlier. So all these layers, both of these layers were tightly coupled because their CM layer was built on ASP.NET. That's why the developer has to follow the same practice and they has to build the CD layer onto the ASP.NET. So this practice has been changed and they have decoupled CM and CD. Now CM, still the Sitecore is built on ASP.NET. Still everything is there as is, but they have decoupled the CD, and now developer gets more flexibility. They want to choose any of the front end framework. They are free to choose. They want to go with the .NET Core rendering. They are free to go with that. So that's where the main comparison or the main differentiation comes with. So with this, like with this all this decoupled and the headless architecture, we get a couple of more advantage, like the flexibility is the one that I talked about, that now developers are free to choose any of the front end framework they want to choose. Then the faster development. So when I say faster development, it includes the complete SDLC. So earlier I remember that even now, if you are working with any of the Sitecore traditional .NET MVC project, if you have made some changes in, let's say, your view file, you have to do the complete deployment. It will restart your Sitecore CMS, it will restart your website, and everything. Like your website will go down, even though we talk about like blue green deployments, but still your website will go down. But with this approach, because your rendering host is totally separate and that is hosted separately, no way of website goes down. So these are the advantages that we are getting. Another one thing that when I'm talking about that, we have a like front end and back end, they are separately hosted. So because many of you are developers, I have seen people get confused that front end is, I'm talking about, let's say CSS, HTML, or the view files. Back end, the server side coding. No, in headless world, front end is where my website is hosted, which is we call it a CD, and the back end is all the CM side, which is where our server is hosted. So from now on, we will talk more about front end and back end, and you have to refer front end and back end like that only. So yeah, over to you, Vikas.
Okay, so some concepts that we use within the headless is obviously we discuss about, we do have to separate our content and the presentation. If we go with the headless, that's a separate. We need definitely an API design, right? So API is must. The robust content model, earlier the in basically in full headless, we don't take care of the presentation. When we look into the content, we look content as a on its own, as a separate entity. The front end flexibility, you can use any of the framework or any of the front end. It might be mobile app or it could be a web, right? It's not the front end flexibility, not because of just the languages like you use Angular or Next. It's the flexibility of where you will kind of uh, use as well. The performance, obviously, is tremendous. Like from there is best. Collaboration. Uh, Earlier, now the couple of collaboration between the teams is a little bit different in Headless. Earlier, okay, you need a UI first, then you do have to develop something. But now you can develop the templates, you can do your content migration separately, and you can have. So little bit of the collaboration of the team has changed. When you used to collaborate in MVC development, it was a little different, but when you collaborate within the Headless is a little bit different. So that's we need to kind of consider. SEO and accessibility, that was a little bit of challenge of getting in earlier world. Like this is best here. Learning curve, obviously, this is why we all are here. It's a big learning curve for all the Sitecore previous developers that's doing the standard .NET MVC bespoke development. And rest, because we start with composability, we end with composability before going into it. All this Headless comes because, as we discussed, because of the composability stack as well. And Sitecore has like the 11 products that you have seen. They are now doing their own product. Instead of like XP, you can use any of those products, or you can use any other product if your client is already using like marketing or search for anything else. It's good. Yeah, you can continue using those things as well. We don't need to change everything, right? Okay. So let's comes the difference, like between how the things have changed between the MVC and the Headless. If we start with feature wise, obviously, XP was having all the features like the EXM, XDB, everything including into it. So when we go with the Headless, we use mostly the XM only features. So we kind of remove all these things from over there. We use from templates. You all used to have data templates, parameter templates. So there's no change in MVC. That's a good part. Like if you're moving your MVC to the Headless, you don't have to change any of the your templates. If there's no template change, no content change. So that's a beauty. From rendering point of view, the controller rendering changed to the JSON rendering. That's a big change. You have to update all your rendering to the JSON renderings. From the layout, we used to create MVC layout. Now you have to create a Headless layout that will be created in your front end application mapped with the Sitecore layout. From content perspective, content can be very highly reusable, but yeah, you need to consider a few things, and you can use the content as is with the Headless layout, right? From the forms, it's a little bit tricky. Sitecore is working, I think, in some form solution, but for it's very tricky to use those forms in the Headless. Well, you have an option here to go with the external forms. Any third-party Headless forms are available, or there's embeddable concept forms concept within the Sitecore that you can go. And if you want to use the form extension, you might have to do some settings to remove the XDB references wherever it has. Then it will work. Otherwise, it will have a lot of problem like in having using the forms itself. In our website, we used to have like 100 plus forms, and we were able to use 100% forms that we were using earlier as well, like from the Sitecore as well, by making some of those settings. From the layout data, it was Sitecore item API. Now is the REST API or the GraphQL API. That's a bigger change over here. Solution, obviously, earlier there was single options for .NET MVC, whether you call it Helix, Habitat, whatever you call it, but it was eventually like the MVC. Now you have an option for multiple solutions based on your web solution, React, Next, or if you are using for mobile application, the similar content, you can go for that as well. The last is the hosting. That's also a big change. We used to host whether on-prem, AWS, or PaaS, or anything. It was like a single environment. whether it's Azure or AWS. So now it's distributed. CM, you have to host separately. CD environment, front end have environment, you do have to host separately. So, but you have more options for hosting the front end option on Azure or AWS. You might have heard about AWS is a very good kind of the features that they amplify that Siteco, you might have to do some your integration, but Amplify is a great and very cost-effective tool to host any of the front end. Obviously, Vercel is an option that you can go with, and there are many other options as well to go for the hosting. So it's a complete list of the change that you will see in your MVC solution as well as in your headless solution. Yeah, next.
Okay, so now you already know what is composable, what is headless, non-headless. So you know all of these words, and Vikas has mentioned that what is required and what are the differences that is between your MVC solution and the headless solution. Now, again, one cautionary word here is that so all of this transition strategy, what we are discussing here is not based on we are not routing your MVC rendering through HTML means from layout service we are not getting the HTML output and we are not giving it as a Next.js solution. All of these require the redevelopment on the Next.js. But what we will suggest with this transition strategy is that what minimum redevelopment is required. Yes, obviously Next.js redevelopment will be required, but what other solution you can keep as is. So with this, that first thing is that understanding existing MVC solution for migration. So because we are going to redevelop all of our MVC rendering to the Next.js, so you will need to have the better understanding like what kind of integrations are there and what kind of customization you have done in your MVC rendering, and are those customization and integration will be supported in your Next.js solution. So you will need to have a better understanding of that. Then second part is that you'll need to decide your front-end framework. So again, as in my first slide, I mentioned that developer is now free to choose any of the front-end framework. So here we have many options to choose like Next.js, React, Angular, and many more. Next.js is obvious choice. We have choose Next.js. Reason being is that Sitecore supports Next.js for like many components that come out of the box in Sitecore SXA Headless. They are built using Next.js. So if you will go with the Angular or React, you have to build your own components, and those out of the box support you will not get out of it. So for our website transition, we have choose Next.js. Then the other steps like one first step, if we will move that, we have to migrate our XP to XM. Now again, someone has said to me that if you're going to XP to XM, it means you're downgrading your Sitecore solution. No, you're not downgrading, it is upgrading the solution. Of course, there are some marketing benefits that you're not getting out of the XM, but there are more benefits than there are downsides. So you will get you will now enter into the composable world. With going into the XM, you can now pick and choose best of the breed solution for your the upcoming solution. So again, XP to XM is our recommendation. You can still go headless with the XP, but our recommendation is just go to XM, and it's not a downgrade, it's an upgrade. Then moving databases. Now, since you have upgraded your solution to XM, you have very few databases that you have to move to your new solution, which are core, web, master, and forms. You can simply skip the other XDB databases and other databases that are required for the XP solution. So now these are the databases that you'll need to migrate and upgrade, like how you do in any other upgrade solution. So if you have done upgrade of Sitecore 9 to 10, 8 to 9, we got the scripts from Sitecore. You just need to run those scripts and simply your databases are ready to use in your solution. Then once you have your Sitecore instance, you have connected your databases. Now next thing is that you'll need to do the required changes that Vikas has mentioned in the last slide, like we'll need to migrate all the layouts from controller and view layout and rendering from controller view renderings to the JSON renderings. Now, this is the one of the step, or maybe we have the you can find the PowerShell scripts how to migrate those layouts. So IDs and all the artifacts would remain the same. You will just need to change the layout controller method, like controller view, and you need to change it to JSON. That's it. And then since your controller ID rendering IDs are same, layout IDs are same, no further changes are required. We can reuse the template as is. We can reuse the content item as is because your IDs are same. So you need need not to go to each item and change the templates or the rendering on each item. Then if your solution is non-SXA, our recommendation is to go to SXA because now Headless supports SXA and you will get few functionality and few component out of the box. So this is again our recommendation. You feel you are okay to if you will not choose SXA. Then move to Sitecore CLI for content serialization. We all have been used to Unicorn and TDS for content serialization. Since we are moving to Headless, our recommendation is again go to CLI for serialization. You will get more benefits like in the deployment or the development will be the faster with the CLI. Then again till this step all of your development is done, your solution has already been migrated to the headless solution. Now next step comes as a deployment. Again, deployment is a bit different what we are used to do in our traditional Sitecore CMS. So there we have just a single CMCD build pipeline and the deployment pipeline. Here the deployment will be done in two phases, one for the CMS, other one is for the rendering host. So now the benefit here is that every time you need not to deploy the CM pipeline because you are not going to customize or you are not going to change in your CM side. Changes would be mostly on the rendering host side, so you can just simply run your Vercel or any other hosting provider pipeline and your solution will be deployed on those. And then again, now if you have ditched XP and you have moved to XM, you must have removed your marketing module. So now is your chance to again regain those modules. So you can go to Sitecore Composable Suite or any other product in the market, and you can pick and choose those products and make your solution composable again. So that's how we can do the transition.
Great. So that's what we do, and this is not for the all steps are not valid for the XM cloud. This is more for if you want to do the headless on your own, right? Without on your. That's what we did over here. And some of the challenges like that we faced, like where we have to work. Obviously, it was a lot of work, but still a lot of CMS customization pipelines. Right? If you have done something for URL, that will not work. That's separately is a front end. So check all your pipelines. So that's challenges we do have to update. Replicating some of the XP features, right? So they were easily able to see the traffic and everything. So analytics. What we do, like we use because we hosted that it on Vercel. Vercel provide their own analytics as well. So if you go onto the Vercel, a similar analytics that you will go on the Vercel website as well, little bit from the traffic perspective. So that you can do. So from the analytics type of the features, integration. So there was many integration that we did over there. They were written actually in .NET front end MVC part of it. So you need to replicate those into the your front end choice of the front end language. So those integration needs to be rewritten. Forms, again, we were heavily using the form extension. So earlier it was a little bit different, but later we figured out, yes, that can be reused with some settings. So that's kind of point of remember. We did many other integration as well, like Zoom API and everything. So we do have to, or we did created earlier few extra fields into the forms. So those were a little bit may require some changes into the forms as well. So there we faced a little bit challenge. Content migration, yes, again, though we migrated the database, right? So upgraded the database to the to 10.3 first before we kind of do the headless migration. but still a lot of the presentations and everything got changed. So you need to little bit take care of those as well. And obviously, it was a big learning curve to have to do this in team. And we did this for one of the customer, and we did parallelly for one of our own website as well. So that was our like a restaurant kitchen, you can say, right? To do the some of the R&Ds and everything, we were parallelly converting ourselves and while doing the work actually for the customer as well.
Okay, yeah, this is interesting slide and a bit complex one. So here we try to explain the headless architecture. I'll not go through the detail of this architecture. This is I'm pretty much sure everyone must have seen this architecture n number of times by now. So I try to simplify this and try to show you in simpler format, like how your data will flow out and what will be your overall architecture look like. So first box, if you will see, is the headless CMS. Again, these boxes in headless CMS, this is again part of the complete composable puzzle. You can pick and choose any of the CMS. So since we are talking about Sitecore here, I just chosen Sitecore and XM Cloud here. So from this CMS, your Next.js based solution or any of your front-end framework based solution will request the content. So all the content will come out of the CMS through the APIs. So again, this is a layout service. I'll explain in my next slide that there are multiple ways to get this data. There are multiple ways like GraphQL and the REST API. So we will explain it later. But this is the way that your front-end framework will get your data from the CMS. Then from the CMS, again, it will create a whole HTML out of your data, and it will pass this the HTML, the complete HTML, to your rendering host, where that will again serve as your rendering host, which is like in our case it was Vercel. It will build the solution at the runtime and then pass it on to the browser. Again, here we will get two approaches. That is again I'll explain in my next slide, SSR and SSG. Again, that depends on our requirement and our business requirement, and based on our ease of doing the development. So we can choose any of these method and then we can develop those accordingly. So yeah.
Great. Uh, while we were so far we talked about only about the Sitecore as a CMS part. So obviously we talked about the composability. So from Sitecore headless solution, Sitecore has the other tools as well that you can integrate with your content management system, like that third-party service like the Order Cloud or Content Hub Dam. Like Content Hub Dam can host your all the assets that's come. You can integrate with Sitecore Media Library, Order Cloud for any product-related integrations. So here you see on the left-hand side, all your authors, they are using the Sitecore interface for editing pages, creating new components pages, right? So those sort of things. They do all their content management work and publish. That content goes published into an API. In Sitecore language, they call it edge, published to the edge, and from edge, JSON comes to the front-end service, and you will see your content. So you will see the integration here, the benefit of the Sitecore. If you go with the headless architecture with multiple product with Sitecore here, you'll see you could have got the Order Cloud services directly into your front end as well. But because they are the Sitecore product, they have built some integration in between their product as well. Like the DAM system, you can directly get the asset within the Sitecore as well. If you use any other DAM, you might have to build your own integration for that as well. Otherwise, download, upload of the assets. So that's the little bit advantage of the if you choose many different products from the Sitecore. Obviously, the Order Cloud can give directly to any front end. It's a headless solution, but you can integrate that it within the Sitecore as well. From the hosting perspective, it was very simple. If you see here, we hosted the Sitecore as a PaaS service. It was not the XM Cloud over there onto the Azure with two only kind of the app services, CM and the Solar, right? And the 4 databases, because as I mentioned, we use forms a lot, right? Over there. Otherwise, if you use third-party forms, then 3 databases are enough over here. And then through the API, we hosted the application onto the Vercel for ourselves as well, for our customer as well. That's a serverless infrastructure. So any developer that check in the code into the GitHub or any repository, they have like the build, as Raman mentioned earlier. There may be some changes may required go to the site core as well, and all the front end build directly will go to the AWS. So that's a little bit of the very simpler diagram of like hosting couple of apps and very few databases. Very simple one. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, till now we are talking about many of the terms. Some of the terms I tried to like explain in the starting, but still, while I was explaining my architecture diagram, there was few terms like SSR, SSG, the layout service, REST API. So, what is uh, what is the difference between SSR? Should I go with SSR, or SSG, or ISR? What is the approach I should choose? So, let's just try to understand with a very quick analogy. So, let's say you go to the restaurant and you order a pizza. So how the pizza will come out to you? You will order a pizza. The chef will prepare that pizza. He'll bake right away in the oven and prepare to you. The hot pizza will come to you. It means on each request, the pizza will come out as a fresh. So you will get a fresh pizza on each request. In contrast to, let's say you have been come to this room and there may be like cookies lying around you in the plate. You'll just grab those cookies and you will eat it. It means someone has already baked those cookies, prepared those cookies and serve it to you. You just need to pick those and you just need to eat it. That's the same difference between SSR and SSG. The first example, the restaurant example that I gave, is the SSR. Each time you're requesting a page into your browser will request to your rendering host, and then your rendering host will prepare, you will fetch the data from the CMS and prepare the complete HTML, and it will serve it to you. And in SSG, every means on the build time itself, and a developer has built its code on the build time itself, all the pages are pre-rendered and they are already saved as a HTML, and on each request from those means from cache or from those servers, those pre-built pages will be served to you. Means that's a basic difference. And then what is the ISR? Sorry. So it is again in SSR we will get a benefit that the front means on the first load of the page will be faster, but in SSG your website performance overall will be good. Now, but it is not possible in a website like e-commerce website where product are changing every half an hour, or product description, a new product is also introduced every hour, and like a new sale campaign may come every time. So in ISR, what we can do, we can follow the SSG approach, but there uh, the data can refresh frequently. Like we can define the frequency of the refresh time, like half an hour or 1 hour. So every half an hour or 1 hour, your data will be refreshed, and you will get the again more static pages onto your server, and still you can benefit of the SSG. The other terms that we are using very frequently is the layout service, REST APIs, and GraphQL. As I mentioned in my last slide, that from your CMS, your Next.js solution will fetch the data in form of JSON through some APIs. So there are two methods that Sitecore supports right now, is REST API and GraphQL. Again, REST API, if I'll take an analogy, so you can consider REST APIs are like your vending machine. So in vending machine, someone has already put some maybe cookies or something. You just need to press the code, you'll get the cookie or something, some item that you will request. It means someone has already put the API code onto the server. Whatever you will request, you will get the output. But in contrast to that, let's say you'll go to restaurant and you will see the menu. You can order or you can personalize your order and you can choose whatever you want. So that is the GraphQL. Like whatever you want, you can retrieve that. So it will basically reduce your prefetch time. You need not to get all the information at a time. Whatever you want, you can fetch it using GraphQL endpoint. So yeah, that's a basic difference. And a rendering host and content site content delivery. If you will see this differentiation, it is quite straightforward. So in Sitecore terminology, as I mentioned that earlier, CMCD were tightly coupled. CD was basically our presentation layer. The same thing in Next.js, we call it as a rendering host, where all of our data will come and it will be baked as a complete HTML and it will be served to the browser. So the rendering host is kind of middle layer which will take the data from CMS and it will serve to the browser. So yep.
Great. Okay. So, what's the benefit and the what we got out of all these work is the very best omni-channel experience because our customer was having using the content earlier. Previously, we built the custom APIs, but they were directly able to use now directly the GraphQL APIs or the REST APIs for their instead of custom built APIs. So it was very good customer omni-channel experience. Initially, it was a little bit learning curve, but later it was very easy for developers to build anything new over there. So the front end developer, they were very good in kind of doing the coding and everything. So they don't have to worry about what is going behind the scene into the site code. Is very highly scalable. You can have a traffic of 10 per minute or 10,000 per minute. It doesn't matter from the hosting perspective when you host on a serverless infrastructure. Otherwise, we used to plan the traffic because what I used to do a maths, we all know Sitecore CD performance and everything. I used to lay, okay, I need how many concurrent users? Okay, how many servers I would be required for? My guess was around 200, 300. If we have more than that, one server can't handle it, right? So if you have 1,000 users can come, we used to have 5 servers, right? But maybe that might come at any particular time of a month or something. But here it doesn't matter. It's very highly scalable infrastructure. There is cost-wise is very less. We are hosting our own site $40 a month, right, on Vercel. Right. Obviously, it's a very starter package. Their actual cost for professional, like their environment, may go very high as well. There are many other options like that. I mentioned AWS Amplify, Netlify, and all those option as well. Is always evergreen. You don't have to upgrade, right? Here is a future-proof solution. Faster development cycle. So the changes now are super fast. We don't have to do the complete cycle of site code changes plus the front end changes. They can be managed very separately. We'll get the best FSEO, SEO results, web vitals, page performance, and the user experience. How the page loads completely is very intuitive. Earlier, it was like we were not able to control much of the front end side, how the page is loading onto there. It loads an image and it shifts up and down. So those sort of things are very easy to control if you build a proper front end solution, and is a very limited on upgrade is required in future. So there are a lot of benefits actually we got after upgrading to the headless. Some of the let's see some of the best practices as well.
Okay, so I know we are running out of time, but yeah, quickly, if I tell the best practices. Many of you must aware that when you're running a site or website, it is very difficult to get a good lighthouse score. And in the next slide, VK will show you that how we managed to get more than 90 lighthouse score with using SSR. With SSG, it is very easy to get that score, but with SSR, how did we manage to get that score? And some of these best practices and tips that we utilize for our website is that the image optimization we have done. There was earlier solution called Dynoga. We have used that. Along with that, Next.js itself provide the image optimization. So we have just done mix and match of both of these and did the image optimization. This is the must part that has to be done. And caching, again, it was always crucial even in the previous solutions and now as well, but the methods have been changed. Now we can do the caching on the Sitecore side as well as on the Vercel side. So both side of caching we can utilize. Responsive design, again, it is a best practice to have right now. So earlier we used to have separate websites for mobile and desktop. Now that doesn't work in a single website like how Peter shows. We have to make our website responsive always. Import dynamic components, so utilize some of the SSG while you are having your pages at SSR, so you can use SSG at the component level. I know it's when I'm talking about it is like more technical, but if you will follow this approach while you will do this development, this all will make sense to you. Then the lighthouse score, again, earlier the lighthouse score was based only on the website performance. Now there are some core web vitals that have been added, and those plays a crucial role to get your lighthouse score very well. You need to keep the core vitals in the mind. DAM solution you should implement for the images, and all the dependencies, if they are not in use in your earlier solution, you should ignore that and you should remove those. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was the example. I didn't get the go ahead to showcase the name of my customer, so I emailed them. But yeah, anyway. So this is the Lighthouse Score is the current website that we checked in the morning, like the 91. And as I mentioned, is a restaurant kitchen. Is all backend HTML and everything is obviously is not as great as it needs to be. But if we do that, you imagine we can get more than 95, 96 very easily. So those are the best practices that we all followed, right? So all the caching, image optimization, and the mechanism how we load our page. That's very much important these days. Like how uh, static your page needs to be. Use of the some of the dynamic components along with the SSC. Those sort of things helps to get the kind of these lighthouse scores to us on desktop, mobile. We are still working. Over here, and along with that, because we have taken this solution that we have built onto the XM Cloud as well, and we build our own XM Cloud starter kit. Whatever the best practices has been followed over there, they have moved along it. That's what we are integrating. Our way of you building the XM Cloud starter kit is not based on how many number of components that we build for the marketers, because as Peter mentioned, components can easily be built using the components within the site core as well, right? So it's not fun, and every design, every company has their own design, every unique. So there's no fun of building the component. Our focus is on only on the best practices. Our focus is on integration. Our focus is on the various of the components that can be added. They can be taken as an example to create any of the future requirement into it. So that's what we are doing, and yeah, probably will come back with some more sessions around that kit in separate SEG. Yeah. Thank you all. Yeah. Any question for? Yes, please.
Yeah, we can.
Thank. Sorry. No, as I mentioned, this is the desktop store. Mobile, we are working. Yes.
No problem. Yeah, if you have any other question.
Sorry. Around 60. There are many different things that needs to be done for the mobile. Yes.
Yeah, as I told that CLS plays a like very crucial role to get that score. So earlier in terms of performance, if you will see the complete performance, it is in green, but the CLS plays a crucial role there. And since we migrated from our older solution to new solution, there needs to be some redefine needs to be done in the CSS. Like we need to adopt the newer way of doing the CSS, like Tailwind or any of the newer framework. We are still on the older framework, so these things play a crucial role to get the
And
good
it's for
mobile
our
score.
website. Customer website is above 90 for mobile as well. As I mentioned, this is a restaurant kitchen.
Hey,
Yeah. Yeah, as I told that SXA was earlier supported, and even in headless solution as well, SXA is supported. So again, earlier in let's say your website is on 9.3 MVC based solution and you are using SXA, that component itself is built on the MVC, and our solution and our transition strategy is all about taking your MVC solution to headless. Now, we are not talking about whether it is built on SXA or not. You just need to grab the logic. Let's say you have utilized accordion of SXA in earlier solution. Now you have to build that accordion from scratch in Next.js. You just have to grab the logic, what that accordion was doing, and build. It no. It is up to you. Means in headless, but it is not necessarily that you have to use SXA in your headless solution, because in headless solution SXA does not provide those components out of the box. There are very few components that you will get. Anyway, you have to redevelop those components. So it's up to you. If you want to choose SXA, you can choose, but you have to redevelop those anyways.
SXA components are not available in headless SXA. Yeah, so that's a
Few of them are, but
yes, yes, couple of them, yeah.
One of the client requests, so they are all simple plain MVC without accessing. Like it's a non-accessing MVC solution, right? So I got a CMS part, so how to upgrade and to convert just to the red link. Those are good. But what we have a starter head, right, for headless side. So how we will transform this solution quickly to the inform of headless, right? There's a big change we used to do. So from our side, what we did is we taken the starter kit out of it, we start rolling out the features, right? So is there any way to transform this solution into the headless solution, right? So as a starter kit, right, we used to provide. So in that format, is there any way or anything which we can transform? Quicker.
It's a one-to-one mapping that you have to do again. That's that. Yes, let's not. I would suggest let's not go with the shortcuts. Probably, right? So it took a lot of time, as I mentioned, for the customer, and we do a lot of R&D for ourselves, our own website as
well. So if you will see, even Sidecore provides a solution, even that I mentioned as a cautionary note, that this transition that we are mentioning is not converting your MVC solution to headless. There is a route actually. You can fetch your MVC component through layout service as HTML. So Sidecore provides that way. You can simply convert all the MVC rendering to HTML, and still you can use Next.js. But that is not a recommended way. Yeah.
So we have a Jamstack, right? So Versa is there, right? So where we can have a server-side rendering. So there is one issue, that personalization, right? So where we try to get the second request pulling the data back from the front end, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the SSR comes, right?
Yeah.
But we face the challenge to put that into the Jamstack, right? So I saw that extent is doable because it's on cloud having it. So, but do you face some challenges over there while hosting a Jamstack application? So we face with the Versa, right? So the request are not that much having that much performance as per this.
Yeah, it will always be there. So it's kind of trade-off. So if you are getting something, you have to lose something. So with XM Cloud, as Peter mentioned, that is the pure enterprise CMS. But with XM, since you are going off with all of those XP features, you'll not get those personalized features that you are going to get earlier with your content, because earlier with the CD, you are going to get all those data into the Sidecore databases. But now there is no such feature. Even with, if you will integrate CDP or personalize, you are not going to get those personalization based on your data. It is based on visitors and all those based on those. But with data, it is now very difficult. And yeah, means this is always a trade-off. You have to.
Do we think that it would be benefit to go with the XM Cloud and get that? Because I think XM Cloud having
obviously, if that's the personalization, if the requirement, yes, yes, yeah. Eventually, that's a good solution, but problem is it's not. I think because of a lot of compliances at the customer end, it's not ready for the compliances. They are working. I think most of the compliancing, SOC 2 and everything, it's not ready for that yet.
I think we need to.
Hello.
So maybe you can catch up these guys for the coffee break. You can discuss your queries. Maybe you can just.
Can we stay for a
just
photo?
for a selfie? I think it's overwhelming response, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah.